Hello again. Eskom needs proper engineers and other experts to take over the embattled utility. Well, that's the view of the former president, Motlanthe. His foundation hosting a two-day youth program for high school pupils in Sandton here in Johannesburg. My colleague, fellow anchor and reporter here at eNCA, Heidi Giokos, is tracking the story for us. She's back in the studio. Heidi, good afternoon. Welcome to today. So what did Motlanthe say about the country's energy crisis and the current rolling blackouts?
Rather scathing, Dan. We do know that the former president today was hosting a digital and creative workshop for young people at Microsoft South Africa, and it's quite ironic that this discussion is being had and the former president is being asked to encourage young people when it comes to the digital space, yet there is rolling blackouts, and this has been happening for some time, and the concern is that it's going to continue happening. The former president saying that the right people need to be brought into Eskom to sort this out, saying that the right engineers need to be brought in. And he's also alluded to the fact that as South Africans, we are told that there is stage 2 rolling blackouts, and then a few hours later we are told it's moved up to stage 6 or stage 5. And he said that we perhaps are not being told about the severity and the seriousness of the problem. He's spoken about the fact that we have coal-fired power stations, and that while we have some new power stations, they are not working to full capacity, for example, Kusile. He's also alluded to the fact that we need to perhaps use different energy sources and perhaps tap into gas, because it does not seem as though the problem is going to be solved anytime soon. But let's listen to the former president on this.
Well, you know, we have these old coal-fired power stations, and from time to time you hear that one unit is broken down or something like that. So they need to up maintenance. And ensure that, you know, there's controlled maintenance where there's need for, you know, replacing parts. They should do that timelessly. But in order to be able to do that, they need proper engineers to be in charge, who will know what they're talking about, not just, you know, from the perspective of a end consumer, but those who would be experts in generation and transmission. That's what is needed.
Sounds like a voice of reason to me there, Heidi. But what was the message of the former president about the youth? After all, this is a two-day youth event under his foundation.
Yes, I tied the question in with regards to the youth about the calls that the ANC needs to bring in younger and fresher blood. This has been a huge criticism of the ANC, because people are saying that they are not giving opportunities to younger people to perhaps lead. There has been a lot of applause with regards to the appointment of, for example, Justice Minister Ronald Lamola, but the former president saying that young people need to be given an opportunity, the same opportunity that anybody else would get. And he says the argument of having people older because they're more experienced or know better, he says that does not stand anymore. But he also says that he believes there are enough young people within the ANC, and of course there is enough work to be done. His message today to those young people, of course it's specifically to the digital world, but also speaking broadly about how young people need to go out there and do better for themselves. Things are really tough in this country at the moment. If we just look at what's happening with load shedding, with our economy, with concerns over leadership crisis, crime, and he's just encouraging young people to keep pushing and going through whatever it is that they are presented with, but again speaking to the issues of younger people within the ANC. And he says that it's of course still needed, older people are still needed because they bring in that knowledge and experience. But let's listen further to the former president.
Well, it's very important. Tomorrow always belongs to young people, and the notion of young people not being ready to assume this or that responsibility is actually without any basis here. Young people are ever ready. The only point that needs to happen is that they must be given responsibility. If they are given responsibility, they will learn as they do and gain the requisite experience, and they bring, youthful energy and fresh ideas. They question the underpinnings of institutions, and so can basically reconfigure institutions so that they are equal to the challenges of today.
Okay, I'm sure another matter top of mind, Heidi, when you were talking to Mr. Motlanthe, there was the ANC's National Elective Conference that's just around the corner, about 3 months from now in December. What was his message to party members? Because currently there's so many challenges the governing party is dealing with.
Yes, again, very scathing when it comes to the state of the African National Congress. The former president saying that if the ANC does not shape up, it's going to be thrown out. And he says South Africans have a choice to move on and move away from the ANC if they do not correct themselves. The ANC has been on this message and path of renewal and unity, but many would say that the ANC infighting is really what's causing major problems and what's basically breaking the ANC apart. The former president saying that this needs to be urgently addressed, and he says the ANC is trying to renew itself and unite itself, but at the end of the day, it's what South Africans see. There's a huge leadership crisis in terms of the different factions within the ANC, and the former president saying this must be urgently addressed. Again, as I mentioned, he did say that he was rather scathing in saying that there are other options now, and if the ANC does not self-correct, they are going to have to suffer the consequences of people no longer trusting the ANC, and that's going to be detrimental not only for that ANC elective conference this December, where there'll have to be new leadership possibly elected, but also for the 2024 government elections. Let's listen in again to the former president.
The ANC is what it is today. It exists as it is today. And the only way renewal is going to happen is for these very members of the ANC to realize that as long as they don't change, the rest of the South African nation would not respect them, would not owe allegiance to them. And so the choice is very clear. Change or adapt or die. Yeah, that's the choice.
Adapt or die. That expression was used as well. Let me just remind people who might not remember, during the apartheid days by somebody like P.W. Botha. He made a speech in the 80s ahead of the state of emergency in 1986. He said exactly those words, adapt or die. What did the Nationalist Party do? It did not adapt, and it's dead.